Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 20th day. Yes, I'm alive actually tonight. 20th day of July. Got a great show with you on for tonight. Kudos to Spain, as I called it on last Thursday's program, winning the World Cup here 1-0, like everybody else would say, instead of United States 1-0. One of the best defenses of all time. Going to talk about that. It got past me. ACC Media Days were last week. We'll give you your thoughts. Who wins the ACC? How's Bill Belichick going to do this year? How's Dabo Swinney going to do? Listen to this. Look at this, folks. Got my Phil Steele magazine. Got that fresh off the press today from Books A Million there. Going to talk about that tonight as well. And Ryan Clark finally let go. And a little bit of different take that you might think that I might have from ESPN there on Ryan Clark, the controversial ESPN figure. Looks like it's some layoffs, according to Andrew Marchand with The Athletic. So I'll talk about that and more. Stand by. We'll take our first and only break, and I'll be back here momentarily and hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to Sports, that is Sports with an S, another S, Scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty. Now, listen, folks, I am aware that today is also the start of the SEC Media Days. I know Tennessee, Josh Heupel there, Coach Heupel, he spoke. I want to say the Missouri coach spoke, and Kentucky head coach spoke today. SEC Media Days down in Tampa. Thursday, I'll be here live with the Mad New Yorker. We will predict the SEC. I'll give you my prediction. I was going to do that today, but I really didn't have the time to give you thoughts on the SEC, how the conference breaks out, who's going to win it. Give you a handful of teams that I think may have a chance to win, and also get into the college football playoff as well. And of course, hey, listen, I know it's July. They don't start camp until next month. Now, listen. Could I change that opinion based on what happens during camp if some major injuries happen and whatnot? Yes, I will do that before the season starts. Technically, it'd be week 0. I want to say around August 30th with TCU. I want to say playing North Carolina week 0 in Dublin, Ireland. And, of course, the very next week, Labor Day's a little bit farther off this year, which is good because I still have some stuff to do, prepare for marketing for this program, and I want to get predictions for every NFL team. I'm glad it starts I think the Saturday's like the 5th, September 5th. Throughout that weekend, it'll be Labor Day weekend. It's usually around the 1st, so it's a few days extra. I need the extra time. I've been busy putting back some money for a number of reasons here. Okay, so also listen. I am aware that NFL training camp, the Titans will start training camp. A lot of teams around the league will start training camp on Thursday, the 23rd of this week. So football's coming out. I wish the World Cup was every year, right? But you got the end of the World Cup, and now you got our football season coming right up here now. I mean, it's just perfectly. Training camps will start, and then you'll have the preseason games a few weeks into next month. And before you know it, that second full week there, we'll start seeing games, NFL games of September, And then, hey, things go by really fast once this season starts. Comes on us quickly. I tell you, this summer flew by because I've been very busy working my rear end off. But first, let's start with the World Cup here. Spain, historic win here for Spain over Argentina. I actually thought that, let's see, got some screenshots here. Spain, according to this, I looked this up. This is two sources on Google AI. Spain holds the record, which I thought they probably did, right? Spain holds a record for fewest goals conceded by the World Cup winning team, allowing just one goal across 8 matches, shutting out Lionel Messi and this team. I thought they were really kind of, particularly Messi, kind of a sore loser in this game, in this match per se. And I know that they were lucky to be there. I mean, being down 2-0 late, very late, 80-something minutes or something like that, to Egypt, coming back, scoring 3 unanswered. The second half goal there, the 2 goals there late again to beat England. It seemed like, I want to say, they were down another time. Very fortunate to be there. That being said, the deeper team, the more defensive, sophisticated team there with Spain, their young player, the young star, Yamil Yamal. The guy's 19 years old. Did not score the goal there, but listen, they score late. They hold off Argentina. And by the way, I don't think Argentina even got a good clean shot off, if you ask me. Very good tournament there. Congratulations to Spain getting that World Cup victory. Couldn't be happier for this group. The fact that, Messi been playing outstanding. That being said, 39 years old, often double teamed, made elite passes and goals, and has been impressive. He's been in one of the most successful World Cups, this particular World Cup per se. One of the most, if not the most successful World Cup ever. As I mentioned the other day, no, I did not mention it. I mentioned it to my riders in Uber, rideshare, Lyft. Nike sold out their apparel for this World Cup. We talked a few weeks ago about Boston running out of alcohol. Boston running out of their bars drunk dry. I want to say Scotland drunk them out. That's huge for business. I looked this up earlier. FIFA made $15 billion from this particular World Cup. The president, and I saw this online on the Excel, multiple sources here, president of CONMEBOL has confirmed that 2030, there will be 64 teams in the World Cup for the 24 instead of the 48 they have now. As I mentioned on Thursday's program, I thought that would be a great idea. You get more exposure there. Now I would add in, you want single game elimination. I'd kind of like to move this. Excuse me, I'm sorry. There's a gnat here. It's getting on my nerves. I'd kind of like to move it to every other team. Some smart aleck guy off TikTok said, I don't know what I'm talking about. There are players under contracts and all that nonsense. Contracts can be adjusted. A lot of money to be made. A lot of unity from this particular World Cup. So I'm going to talk it every time they have it. I may ease into some soccer talk, especially during the summer, during the dead time between the NFL and the college football season, of course, the NBA and stuff, whatnot. I know a lot of other sports talk shows are talking about LeBron James. Now, I'll tell you what, if that story breaks, I will comment on it. I noticed, by the way, I said from the get-go, speaking of LeBron, I said from the get-go, I think he should go to Miami. I thought it'd been the best fit, put him down there with Giannis. The last I checked earlier, over the weekend, that LeBron was now, according to the prediction markets, Poly Market, which I've been following here lately, that he would be favored to go to Miami. So, although everybody else says, well, Cleveland this and Golden State that, and possibly a and possibly okay, here's some other stuff about this next story I'm going to talk about. I'll go ahead and keep that screenshotted here. But I heard that a decision could come on LeBron. Let me go ahead and, since this is on the show, I'll go ahead. You know how we go, folks. I try to make. Sometimes I have to move in live time here. If the story has officially broken where he's picked, I'll go ahead and go ahead and run with that. Okay. All right. But I don't think a story has broken yet. There was a report that possibly he can make that decision at this hour. And I do not believe that decision has been made. No, it has not been made yet. Because I'm looking at Legion Hoops. Sharms has not said anything. But you know what? I'll talk about it in real time if he does. If he does make that decision. I mean, the guy's 42 years old or something like that. I'm not going to make a big deal out of that. But, hey, listen. It is what it is, okay? All right, so here we go. Again, listen, going back to the World Cup, very successful. World Cup, most successful ever, I'm pretty sure, looking at it. My opinion, with all the sales and stuff, and of course, the happiness, the sadness, the emotions, the unity, you name it. Kudos to the United States for hosting, and of course, all of the North and South American, North American regions and whatnot. Okay, so all right. All righty then. Now, next story on the horizon. Okay, I guess I'll go ahead and talk about this Ryan Clark story here from ESPN. Then I'll get to some college football. Okay, this broke this afternoon. You want to say controversial figure, race baiting figure, Ryan Clark, former he's mainly known for his safety play with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Andrew Marchand of the Athletics reporting that he was fired in a series. You want to say fired, you want to say laid off in a series of layoffs from ESPN. According to Andrew Marchand, he has been with them for 11 years. Like I said online through social media, I thought that Clark was I was surprised he hadn't already been let go for some of the stuff he said over the years. But I guess they're making it look like it's a layoff thing. Did not have the backbone to fire him prior to this. Okay, so, but here is now it's coming out through the Athletic that let me look at this, because this just came up on the Athletic site. Ryan Clark's fire from ESPN was influenced by perceived poor verbal conduct, particularly towards colleague Peter Schrager on Get Up. This is going back a few months ago. Last September, like I said, a while back, almost a year ago, after Schrager defended Cowboys CeeDee Lamb's performance in season opening the loss, Clark said, "This is a non-player in you." Very disrespectful towards a colleague. And Schrader just started there probably that year. I want to say he'd come over from either Fox or NFL Network. I want to say it was NFL Network. But he was fairly new to ESPN at the time. Schrager asked Clark not to belittle him, and later that day, Clark apologized on X, writing, "Today, interaction with my colleagues, Schrager were both on and off the air that I regret." Now, that is also, but also, he's made a series of race baiting undertones, very offensive. Going back, I found this off Grok, and you can find this off Google AI and whatnot. But there have been claims. For example, the Shedeur Sanders draft stock comments made in March of 2025, Clark suggested that the negative perceptions of Sanders being called arrogant or brash at the combine were influenced by race beyond his confidence or Deion Sanders' influence. It's not about Deion Sanders' son. It's about the bravado he carries and the fact that he looks, this is what Clark said, he looks a certain way. It's about the fact that the color of his skin sometimes at the position can be questioned. Criticism from former ESPN Sage Steele calling it playing the race card, saying it exhausts legitimate discussions about racism. Of course, she's of a mixed race herself. Then he also said this is over Robert Griffin III in May of last year, also a feud over Angel Reese. After Griffin criticized Reese's behavior towards Caitlin Clark, suggesting jealousy or hate, Clark responded to Pivoting podcast by questioning RG3's perspective due to his marriage to a white woman. Clark implied the RG3 is having conversations at home about what black women endure and lack credibility on issues facing black women like Reese. He later apologized for ramping up for naming RG3's wife, but stood by his broader points. Racism called criticisms. This was widely called racist or hypocritical, noting Clark's own interracial family ties with some responses. ESPN College reportedly pushed for accountability, viewing it as a personal attack, crossing lines. Marcellus Wally and others amplified as race baiter, labels it related in context. So, and then it goes back to Deshaun Watson, Brady Quinn comments in 2023. Clark accused Brady Quinn of racial bias and criticizing Watson's off the field issues and playing status. This goes back to the issues with his massages and all the lawsuits here, especially ironic, giving Clark's past controversial comments about players. Also, the Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson comparisons. Just incident after incident. I mean, I'm going through this, and it just goes down and down and down. Like I said, he's been there for 11 years saying all this stuff. Now, all that being said, I don't kick people when they're down. I hope that he gets it together. I hope he has a change in heart and his attitude. And I actually hope that Ryan Clark bounces back and gets on a better platform and even makes more money than he's made now. I'll put it that way. I don't believe in kicking people when they're down, even though I don't agree with a lot of stuff he says. I know a lot of that is racial undertone. I think a lot of that he said was to get people riled up, to go viral, to get clickbait, and to keep him relevant. I'm not sure if he actually believes a lot of this stuff, or maybe he does. I don't know. But I know that I think Stephen A. does that, Stephen A. Smith at ESPN, because he knows that'll rather tick people off or not. Either way, it'll go viral, and it'll keep him relevant, keep people talking about him, love him or hate him, and it keeps money in his pocket, whether he 100% believes in this stuff or not, per se. But, he's out. Bigger criticism, why he's paying weight, a lot of cowards there. I don't know. I think that there's just some of that. I think, and finally they use this as an excuse to let him go for cost cutbacks and whatnot, which it's hard to go against that excuse because it seems like every year or every other year they're laying off big on-the-air personalities there at ESPN, paying a lot of money to get this NBA package, get NFL stuff. Remember, they basically bought the NFL network. Now, Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter are working together. So a lot of that could be to play as well for that. The controversial Ryan Clark out at ESPN. That story just broke this afternoon. And actually, like I said, I hope the guy gets on his feet and does better than what he did and has a change of heart. I think he can still have good analysis without using the race card to be relevant. Okay? All right. Now, last week, and like I said, folks, I know that ACC Media Day or SEC Media Days have started today. Josh Heupel, very vanilla, talked today. I want to say the new coach there for Kentucky talked. The Missouri coach talked that today at SEC Media Days. We'll be there all week. They'll be there all week down in Tampa. Myself and the Mad New Yorker will discuss the SEC coming up on Thursday. Pick the SEC winner, which automatically would put that team in the playoff here. I'm still a little torn between a team like, for example, and I'll give you an answer Thursday. I want a little bit more time to look into it. I'm torn between a team like like a Georgia or Texas to actually win the SEC. I do think LSU is very much into it in the ability to win that conference. Ole Miss in it, and I'll give you a few more as we come on till Thursday. Want to definitely talk about that coming up on Thursday. But there was a CC Media Days last week, and Bill Belichick was one of the topics of discussion. I mean, listen, guy's arguably the greatest coach of all time. He's coming into try to see what page 156. We'll talk about him. I'll get to my Phil Steele magazine. You all know that I refer to all the time here, which I just bought today. Speaking of the college football, so yeah, it is definitely college football time in the United States here. It's a great transition there to go into it. Okay, now Belichick was 4-8 last year. He has to make some big moves here. He did not rest on his laurels there. He moved off of Freddie Kitchens, the former head coach there of Cleveland Browns, was his offensive coordinator. Struggled offensively last year. Hey, listen, they played Virginia pretty close. Virginia was an 11-win team. That was a 1-point loss there. Remember, they went for 2 in that particular game. That was towards like 7 games into the season. They started to get together. Didn't quite have the depth they had last year. A lot of moving parts there. But he brought in Bobby Petrino. Remember Bobby Petrino, the former head coach of Arkansas, very sharp with quarterbacks there. Used to coach Louisville. Heck, he coached Lamar Jackson at Louisville. Lamar ends up becoming a late first-round pick, 2-time MVP of the NFL. Petrino, pretty good coach. I did look this up. Bobby Petrino will be calling plays here. I want to say when he was not calling plays and didn't have full control on his last OC job with Texas A&M. I think this is going to be very sharp here. Transition here for North Carolina. So he'll be working with this quarterback, Billy Edwards, who was a transfer from Maryland to Wisconsin, and now, so this guy's going to be like 22, 23 years old, now to North Carolina. So I do think the great Bill Belichick will have a better year this year at North Carolina, 74 years old. If you listen to him, I heard him on Colin Cowherd last week. Excuse me, I had to get some water here. Ooh, I'm on a roll here. All right, I heard him on Colin Cowherd's show last week talking about stories about Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez and his use of tight ends and how good Tom Brady, very good football stories there. Still has a lot of energy in his voice. You could tell he's excited about coming into this season. I do think that they're going to be a fun team to watch here. I'm not saying that they're going to win a whole big bunch of games, but I do think they'll win more than 4-8 games. They opened up the season in Dublin, Ireland. Week 0, I want to say, it's like August 30th or something like that. In Dublin, Ireland. By the way, I've talked to a lot of Irish people, particularly from the Dublin area, doing rideshare here in Nashville. They have a one-way, a nonstop flight from Dublin straight to Nashville. A lot of those people here, really good, nice folks here, nice Irish folks here. And they love these football games when we do have these games over there. So I'm pretty sure this game will be sold out. The great Bill Belichick. And, of course, TCU will be played there. So that'll be a decent matchup, decent little appetizer before Labor Day starts the very next week, which is, like I said, a little bit later this year on I think that Saturday's like Saturday, September 5th. So, I mean, they play TCU. They later play at Clemson. They play Notre Dame at home on October 3rd. I mean, they got Miami this year at home, at Virginia. Remember, I told you Virginia is very pretty good team. Louisville at home. I've got them going either 6-6, 7-5. So I do think that he'll have a better year. That's better than 4-8. Make it to a bowl game. and maybe win their bowl game. I don't know if he'll retire or not, or maybe an NFL team will call him at 75 years old. He does not sound like a 74 years. Like I said, very energetic. He was a very good interview with Colin Cowherd earlier last week when they had their when they had their media days here. I'd kind of like to see it. And there was a report over the summer that Sean Payton was even willing to go be his offensive coordinator and let him get the record because he is not too far off of getting Don Shula's regular season record. So he would be pound for pound the greatest coach of all time. He'd have the 6 Super Bowl wins and he would have the regular season record. I don't know if anybody's going to give him a shot at 75 years old, because he's 74 now, to do that. I kind of like to see him get on his feet and win a national championship. That may be a little bit of a stretch, but I do think they're going to be better. The over and under, by the way, is 4.5 wins. So Vegas thinks that Belichick is going to be about like last year. I think they'll be a little bit better. I know that there's quite a few 9-win teams in the ACC, but a lot of that is just beating up on each other. Other than Miami, maybe Florida State bounces back, but I just don't see it. Also in the news, Dabo Swinney, a viral hit last week, hit last week on Dabo Swinney in Clemson there. Paul Feinbaum calls him out for talking about the way things used to be. Now, remember, they want to say they won like 7 games last year. Let me see. Page 138. Let me go back to 138. I'll go back to their they won like 7 games last year. The Clemson Tigers here. Now, he has been there. Dabo Swinney, folks, has been there, I want to say 19 years. 19 years he's been with Clemson. They was nothing before he got there. In my lifetime, I think they won in like 78, but I was born in 81. He wins 2 national championships with Clemson, per se, and they were 7-6 last year. I picked them to win a national championship. I mean, they really fell off. But Paul Feinbaum, let me look and see what he said about him. Highlight the polarized views. Paul Feinbaum blasted Swinney on Get Up, saying Dabo's stuck on stupid, right on not trying to convince the program. It's still a legitimate program. It needs to talk about his past championships and the way things used to be. Listen, that's true. I think he's really stuck in the past. He can't stand this transfer portal. He can't stand this NIL stuff. But he's got to adapt to the times or he's going to get passed up. So I do think, and it's funny, Vegas has them at 7.5 wins. That's the exact wins that they had last year, kind of like Bill Belichick. Vegas has them at 4.5. They're 4-8. He is at 7, and like I said, 7.5 wins. I started looking at their schedule here, and it looks like they might win 8 games. They open up at LSU. Remember, LSU beat them out in Clemson last year under Brian Kelly. Now you've got Lane Kiffin, and this game is down in LSU. That's not going to be good for Dabo Swinney. They're going to probably lose that game in week 1. That'll be a good one. They do have Miami at home. They've got to play at Cal on Friday night. That's not a given. They can very much lose that game. They got to play at Florida State, at Duke, South Carolina home. South Carolina got a very good quarterback there. They could possibly be a top draft pick there as well. A Virginia Tech team that has improved. You're talking probably about a 5-6 loss team, which is about the same as between 7 and 8 wins, which is not going to get them in the ACC championship game. They'd get them to a decent bowl game. Then you ask yourself, well, would they fire him? Well, his buyout is $57 million I do not think they will fire him this year. And I think his buyout's like 4.5. Maybe an NFL. Now his stock is down. Maybe he would have tomorrow. I mentioned about Ryan Clark changing his attitude. Dabo Swinney would have to change his air quote attitude about the NFL and his approach towards players, dealing with players who have made some money and stuff. He don't like the way this stuff is really hurting him right now. He does not want to change and really lean into this new era that we're in, where players to have that. He's constantly having to recruit players and keep them, and also go out and use that transfer portal. Although they've used it somewhat last year, they have not leaned into it enough. So it would be, again, $57 million buyout if they were to fire him at the end of the season. It would go down to 48 if they fire him next year. Maybe they get tired of his crap this year, and then you're coming into year 20 next year. Yeah, 20 years, maybe he's just kind of worn thin there. Maybe he would step down or they'd fire. He says he don't want to step down. A lot of people say stuff, and then the heat gets too much to them, they step down. Still a pretty young guy. He's not even 60 years old, I don't think. And you know, it's a big difference from him and a guy like Bill Belichick. Maybe he takes an NFL job. Either way, I think possibly next year he could start off the season on the hot seat. Even Clemson could buy out a $48 million buyout if things really go south coming into next season. Okay, if the recruiting continues to fall apart there in Clemson, that's a story to remain vigilant on. Thought I would talk about him. As far as the ACC championship, listen, folks, I can't see Miami falling off. I think I love me some Mario Cristobal. I like Mario Cristobal when he was up there at Oregon. I was a Mario Cristobal at Miami, even when they weren't doing good the first year or so. And, of course, last year with Carson back, they get all the way to the national championship. A lot of that was led with the changes they made on defense here, and got into the national championship, played a really good national championship game with their pass rush and whatnot. I do think I want to say they have about 13 starters coming back if you count players that were starters at FBS schools last year, like Phil Steele says, and made it as a starter this year on their team. I do think that they're going to be in the ACC championship game. And listen, Phil Steele's picking SMU, which, listen, they look really good. You have returning starters coming back, double-digit starters coming back, same quarterback coming back at SMU. But I'm picking Louisville, led by the head coach. Listen, what is his name? Jeff Brom there, the head coach there at Louisville. Very good. Listen, he beat Miami last year. Beat Miami about 3 points last year. That was where a lot of the controversy come at with Notre Dame not being in. But remember, they beat Notre Dame in week 1. Miami gets in there, deserves to be in there. Miami gets there, deserves to be in there. They beat them in week 1, and I said I thought Miami would play well and beat Texas A&M in the opening playoff game, in which they did. I said they would give Ohio State all they could handle and lose a close one, but they actually beat Ohio State in last year. We know what happened. They got all the way to the championship and held their own against Indiana, which is best Indiana team ever. So my whole point is, a lot of people is going to pick SMU. Some may pick Florida State to bounce back. I don't think Florida State's going to bounce back. That's another Norvell's another hot seat to watch this year. He was 5-7 last year. Maybe they're 7-5 this year. But either way, I think that they will play Louisville. Louisville this year will play Miami. Miami will beat Louisville in the ACC championship and get back into the playoff. We'll see how far they go. That's my prediction for the ACC. And again, now, Thursday, going to really give about 35 to 40 minutes here of this program into talking about the SEC. I mentioned earlier, teams. I looked at LSU's schedule. I'm going to give you a preview right now. I do think, contrary to what others may say, because it's a lot of turnover there with that quarterback transfer from Arizona with Lane Kiffin, even with all this turnover and all these new players and a new head coach, I do think LSU has a very good shot to get in the playoff. I'm not sure if they're going to win the conference per se or not, but I do think they have a very good shot to get in the playoff. Like what Georgia's offensive line looks what I'm reading and what I saw last year with returning starters there. Georgia's offensive line, Stockton being back with Georgia. The popular pick's going to be, Texas, the University of Texas, bringing in Will Muschamp as a defensive coordinator there. Arch Manning looked good at the end of last year. I just can't get out of that 35-10 loss to Georgia. I can't get that out of my mind. So I don't know how high I'm going to be on Texas. I looked at their schedule. Trinidad Chambliss, Ole Miss, I still think they're a very good team. We'll talk about them. Talk about Tennessee because I'm out of Nashville. A lot of you know I follow Tennessee. But teams like Tennessee, Vanderbilt, both possibly breaking in freshman quarterback. History says, especially with all these other quarterbacks that are veterans, 22, 23, and sometimes 24 years old playing in college, I don't see a freshman quarterback going too far in this college football right now. So, but I'll give you my opinion of that with the Mad New Yorker on Thursday, folks, okay? On Thursday. So, hey, football's right here. Football's right here. Like I said, I wish this World Cup thing was every year because the World Cup was so hyped. It took us through that dead zone in the summer, folks. I mean, that dead zone after the finals, going into these training camps. The Titans will be playing. There'll be training camp on Thursday, which is the 23rd. But right now, like I said, I want to get as far ahead on this college football stuff as possible. So if we talk SEC Media Days on Thursday and pick the SEC, listen, the closer we get to that Labor Day weekend, I'll probably record a show with the Mad New Yorker like we did last year, folks. A longer extended show will give you our 12-team playoff. From what I'm reading in my man Phil Steele's magazine, he's done it a little bit different this year because he's added in new transfer portals and everything. Transfer portals and NIL guys. It does look like Notre Dame's going to be a strong player. I can tell you that. I'm a lot concerned about Oregon. They're going to be a trendy pick to win the national championship. Had a guy that worked at Oregon. He says, listen, I think Dante Moore may get a little happy feet this year because they're rebuilding their entire offensive line there. We saw that hurt Texas last year playing Ohio State and everything. I think that could hurt Dante Moore. Love me some Dante Moore, but that could hurt him for Oregon. Although defense will be rock solid, one of the best in the country. That reshuffling off, I'm concerned about that. Plus, they've got two new coordinators at Oregon. So I'm not so sure that Oregon's going to be in that mix. Ohio State, of course, they're going to be in the mix. Notre Dame looks to be heavy in the mix. They're going to be a trendy. I'm just telling you this right now. They're going to be a trendy pick for a lot of people to win the national championship. They're going to be right there. But also, like I said, it could go back to an SEC school. Could be a Texas, could be a Georgia. I'm actually leaning Georgia. Everybody talks about how bad Georgia was. They lost 2 regular season games, and of course they lost that last-minute game, last-second touchdown there to Ole Miss in the playoff, which threw us all off there. But they look pretty strong on both sides of the ball. Defense coming into its own. And of course the Big Ten there. You got to look at the Big Ten. BYU's a team that's going to be looking good. They might slip into the playoff as well. So it's a very interesting playoff. Some people think that maybe Miami may get back. We'll see. All right. A lot of it is how these players gel well together, how well the quarterback is protected. That's what I'm going to look at. Offensive line, returning offensive line. Is it a good to great defense. It don't have to be, air quote, great defense coming in. Remember last year I was reporting that everybody was saying Alabama had this great defense. Well, they did, but they couldn't run the ball. They kept the defense on the field too long. And Alabama, by the way, Keelan DeBoer, I'm leading. I don't think that a lot of their field still has them third in the SEC. I got a feeling that I know he got an extension and everything, had a good recruiting class, got a good recruiting class coming in. I got a feeling this could be his last year and he could get fired. I don't know how them Alabama fans are. I've had too many on the program. So a lot to get into as we get into the pre-seasons, training camps of college football and ultimately the NFL. And I see viewers popping up here. You get excited when I start talking football. You start popping on the screen here. But while I'm doing this, since I've got a little bit of time left, let's see if LeBron has made a decision. As I said before, folks, that I do think that, by the way, I will say this. I don't know if Caitlin Clark is watching the program. Remember, I said she needs to pick her game up if she wants to be talked about more. I do think that, she has been getting the crap beat out of her, but because I think some of that jealousy comes from the fact she ain't proved anything in this league. Well, she had like 45 points and 10 assists the other day, one of the first ever players to do so. Well, maybe she's watching SportsScope, right? She's getting the memo. Now they got to start winning some games. She did hit the game winner. I think it was Friday night. She looked great there. But I'm looking here on the X app and seeing if there's any news on LeBron. And I don't see that he, like I said, I do think that he should have went to Miami. And last I checked, he was favored to go to Miami, And Sharms is not reporting anything yet, not unless this pops up here. Nothing yet. It looks like they're still talking about some other stuff about some other players. Nothing new here. LeBron has not made a decision yet on that. There's some news. Lou Dort got sent to the Hawks on a 3-team deal. That was more of a financial situation for the really shifty OKC Thunder there, led by Sam Presti. They're real sharp. General manager, though. So, folks, if you like the show, share the show. I'll be back here live again on Thursday with the Mad New Yorker. Get his quick take on the World Cup. But again, we're going to dig into this college football, the SEC Media Days, and get some SEC predictions. And I'll get his 3 bold predictions for the NFL. Like I mentioned on last Thursday's program, my 3 predictions for the NFL. That Dan Quinn will be fired from the Washington Commanders. Lamar Jackson will be traded at the end of the year from the Baltimore Ravens, and of course Todd Bowles. Although I love Todd Bowles, I think Tampa will move off Todd Bowles. So those are my 3 bold predictions for the NFL. Maybe I'll get his as well when we talk about that on Thursday. So, all right, folks, have a good Monday. I'll see you then live, but also I'll show a few replays here on the show here. By the way, if you like the show, share the show. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel at The Real Sports Scope, at The Real Sports Scope with the K, please do so. Want to get those numbers up. So have a good night, everybody. I'll see you then here on The Real Sports Scope.